IGCSE Computer Science syllabus statement with 1.2.1a, show understanding of what is meant by transmission of data. So this is sort of an introduction to data transmission. We did a bit on different error detection methods or for when transmitting data, but now we're actually looking at like the methods of data transmission. So just to remind ourselves, data transmission is the sending of data from one device or medium to another. And it's important to make sure data isn't altered during transmission, which is where the checking methods come in. And transmission can be over a short distance, like printing from a computer, or over a long distance, like telephone calls. And it's also important to consider transmission direction. So is it simplex, half-duplex, or full-duplex? The transmission method, which is it serial or parallel? And the synchronization, is it synchronous or asynchronous? So again, this is a really short introduction, and that's pretty much the end of the video, and we'll be covering these three aspects in the next videos. And it's just the syllabus statements are a bit like, yeah, I'm trying to get every video, for like a video per syllabus statement, but like it isn't really working. Like I get really short videos or really long ones, or like I'm trying to get the in-between, like perhaps 5 to 10 minutes. That's fine. I try to shorten them to like 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes even shorter, but this is sort of an introduction, and I should have links somewhere here. By the time these videos are out, I'll add them to this video, so go ahead and click on any of them if you want to learn about them. But I suggest to do it in order, because that's the way I'm going to do it. So, yeah. IGCSE Computer Science, Syllabus Statement 1.2.1b, distinguish between simplex, half-duplex, and full-duplex data transmission. So when we look at these three terms, we're talking about the direction of data transmission. So let's start with simplex. So simplex data transmission is data transmission in one direction only. So here's a diagram of that. So device A can send data to device B, but device B can't send data to device A. So this is the sender, this is the receiver. So basically only one direction. So examples of this could include like microphones. So like you don't get an output from microphones usually, but you can input. So that's just sending data to the speaker. Keyboards as well. So like when you're typing on your laptop or computer, the keyboards don't usually output anything. They just input to the computer. And you know, doorbells, baby monitors, all those sorts of things. You can sort of use your imagination here, because there are quite a few things that have simplex data transmission. Then there's half-duplex. So half-duplex is data transmission in both directions, but non-simultaneously, so not at the same time. So here's how it should look. What I'm trying to say here is both directions non-simultaneously. So device A can send data to device B, and device B can send data to device A, but not at the same time. So sort of like that. I hope that kind of makes sense. But the example of this are handheld transceivers or walkie-talkies. So you sort of hold a button to talk to the other person, and then the other person like releases the button to listen to what you have to say. That's pretty much how it works. And also radios used in police cars also have a similar idea. And then there's full-duplex. This video is going to be really short. There's full-duplex, which is data transmission in both directions simultaneously. So basically, device A can send data to device B can send data to device A, and both can happen simultaneously. An example of this could be like telephone calls. So like if you're calling someone on Skype, you can both talk at the same time. So you don't have to like hold a button or hold a key on the keyboard to wait, like to speak to them, and then release it to wait your turn. And you can talk at the same time. It's really easy. So that's pretty much it for this video. In the next video, we'll look at serial and parallel data transmission, and we'll also tie it in with what we've learned here. So next video should be a little bit more interesting. IGCSE Computer Science, Syllabus Statement 1.2.1c, and this is to distinguish between serial and parallel data transmission. So when we look at the terms serial and parallel data transmission, we're thinking about the method of transmission. So let's start with serial. And just a quick note before we start, what we'll also do in this video, as I said in the last one, which was we were talking about simplex, half-duplex, and full-duplex data transmission. What we're going to do is tie serial and parallel in with that other stuff. And you'll see what I mean later on in this video. So let's start with serial. So in serial data transmission, data is sent one bit at a time down a single wire or channel. To get a better idea of this, here's a diagram. You can ignore the arrowheads because they don't really have anything to do with this. But basically the idea is it's a single wire. This is one bit at a time down this single wire. And serial data transmission is usually used with long distance calls and USBs. So the reason for that is, well, we're going to be discussing that in another syllabus statement, which is to discuss the reasons for choosing serial or parallel data transmission. So let's just skip ahead to parallel. So parallel is when data is sent several bits at a time down several wires or channels. Usually it's 8, because 8 bits is 1 byte. So to get a good idea of this, I kind of screwed up. I was actually hoping that arrow would... Alright, never mind. So you get the idea. It's several bits down several wires. And examples of parallel data transmission is, well, one could be sending data to a printer using a ribbon connector. So several bits are sent at a time, and also integrated circuits as well. And I know this seems a little bit boring, and you might wonder, what? Well, don't worry, it'll sort of make a little bit more sense to you when we look at the difference between, the difference between, actually no, not the difference between, but like the reasons for choosing serial and parallel data transmission. Because although several bits at a time may seem fast, there are limitations to both of them actually. So we'll just be discussing that in that statement. So what we'll do now is tie in serial and parallel data transmission with simplex, half-duplex, and full-duplex data transmission. So a question you might get on the exam is describe what is meant by... Actually, no, I don't think you're going to get this question, but it's good to know. Describe what is meant by serial simplex data transmission, parallel full-duplex data transmission, and parallel half-duplex data transmission. So these are just examples. So like you can have, say, serial half-duplex, parallel simplex. So you can think of as many as you can, but this is just to get the idea. So when we think of serial and simplex data transmission, well, serial, remember, is one bit at a time down a single wire, and simplex, if you recall, is in one direction. So our answer is one bit at a time down one wire in one direction only. Parallel full-duplex, well, parallel is several bits down several wires. Full-duplex, if you recall, is both directions simultaneously. So it would be several bits at a time down several wires in both directions simultaneously. Parallel half-duplex, well, I just explained what parallel was. So half-duplex, if you recall, was data transmission in both directions non-simultaneously. So here's our answer. IGCSE Computer Science, Syllabus Statement 1.2.1d, distinguish between synchronous and asynchronous data transmission. Now I know what you're thinking, probably. You might be thinking, hang on, this statement isn't in the syllabus. Why do we have to know about this? Well, you do have to know about this. Because in the introduction we discussed the direction of data transmission, which was simplex, duplex, and simplex, half-duplex, and full-duplex, and the method of transmission, so serial or parallel. But this is the synchronization, the method of synchronization. Now, although it isn't directly referred to in the syllabus, you still have to know about it. So, again, this ties into what we've learned in the last 2 videos. So we just have to learn this, and then we're pretty much done. Then we can discuss, all the reasoning and all the examples, and we can finish this topic off and then move on to security, although there's already a whole topic about it. But anyway, we'll get onto that when we get onto that. So let's learn about this. So let's start with synchronous. So synchronous data transmission is data which is transmitted as a continuous stream. And the way this is done is timing signals are used, which are generated by an internal clock. And this ensures that the sender and receiver are in sync. So this is basically all about data being transmitted, but like the timing also sort of tying in with this. So like the timing of the bits being sent. And the receiver will count the number of bits sent and then reassemble them into bytes of data. And again, timing has to be quite accurate in this type of transmission because there are no control bits being sent. But this is a faster method of data transmission than asynchronous. So there's always a good side. So asynchronous, that being said, asynchronous is data transmitted in an agreed pattern. So the bits are grouped together and sent with control bits. So there's a start bit and a stop bit. So this is the data, start bit, stop bit. And this way the receiver knows when the data starts and when it ends. And of course this prevents data being mixed up in transmission, which obviously can be a bad thing. Now, what we also looked at was MIDI quite a few videos ago, and we talked about how MIDI used asynchronous data transmission. So that's basically what I meant. So when I said that MIDI uses a start bit and a stop bit, and that it's asynchronous, this is pretty much what MIDI sort of does. So that's sort of the idea. IGCSE Computer Science. This is syllabus statement 1.2.1e. Show understanding of the reasons for choosing serial or parallel data transmission. So let's just go over a little bit on what they are. So serial data transmission, you've got a sender and a receiver and one wire. So in serial data transmission, data is transmitted over one wire or channel, one bit at a time. So the advantages of serial data transmission are, well, it's good for long distances, as bits have no synchronization problems, but it is slower than parallel transmission. Parallel transmission is several bits at a time down several wires or channels. Usually it's 8. Now this is, of course, faster than serial transmission. However, bits can be skewed, that is to say, bits can be out of sync over long distance transmission. So we need to think about the reasons for choosing serial or parallel, and this is pretty much the basic idea. So, like, use parallel for short distance transmission and use serial for long distance, because, like, if you were to use parallel data transmission for calling your friend halfway across the world, well, like, although it might be faster, like, it might sound a little bit weird because the bits may be out of sync, and, well, that's just one of the disadvantages of really fast things. So the idea is there's always a disadvantage even if there's an advantage, and there's always an advantage even if there's a disadvantage. So that's pretty much it. IGCSE Computer Science, syllabus statement 1.2.1f, show understanding of the use of serial and parallel data transmission. So here we're going to be talking about one use of serial and one use of parallel, and that's going to be USBs and integrated circuits respectively. So let's let's begin. But before that, I'm just wondering if you guys noticed that I skipped 2 syllabus statements from this topic. Now, if you're wondering why, this is because we've already covered parity checking. So, what would the point of doing it again be? Like, we already covered an entire video about it, and I think that the statements have already been covered in that video. If not, you can kind of link them together, but that should pretty much cover everything in that video. Don't know why they have it too. I mean, I guess parity checking is a little bit like parity itself. It's a little bit like both, like, topics, but still, it's a bit weird. Alright, so let's begin. So let's start with USB. So you may notice the symbol and this thumb drive, which most people usually use. And USB stands for Universal Serial Bus, if you didn't know. And it's an asynchronous serial data transmission method. And it's a common method of transferring data between devices, as you may know. Because, like, if you look at your phone charger, for example, or like if you have a hard drive or thumb drive at home, you'll notice that the USB port, which is this little thing right here, is quite common, actually. What does that sound? I heard something. Not the piano playing, if you can hear it. That's just my brother. Anyway, and it consists of 4 wires. 2 are used for power and the Earth, not the planet Earth, the physics Earth, and the other 2 are used for data transmission. So yeah, it's pretty common. It's a pretty common method of data transmission. So, like, you pretty much see it everywhere nowadays. And we'll talk about the advantages soon. So, when a USB device is plugged into a computer, such as a thumb drive, if you plug it into your computer, the computer will automatically detect that a device is present. And the device is automatically recognized, and a device driver is loaded so that the computer can communicate with the device. So it's sort of like we were talking about with MIDI devices. Like, you're going to need a MIDI device in order to read MIDI files. It's kind of like that. And if a new device is detected, the computer will try to find the device driver matching the device. And if this can't be found, well, the user will have to do it manually. And, yeah, let's move on to the advantages and disadvantages. So, an advantage of USB is different transmission rates exist. And USB connectors can only fit in one way, which prevents incorrect connections being made. Now, some might debate that this is a disadvantage, because we have some, we have some ports, or like cables, or whatever, which can plug in both ways, like the Apple iPhone, iPad, iPod charger, which can fit in both ways. So, some might debate about that, but of course, it prevents incorrect connections being made. Because, like, if you look at the, I'm just going to pick up a USB cable here. If you look at the port, you'll notice the two holes. One is more steep a little bit than the other, and that's usually that side up when you plug it into a device. You'll also notice if you look into port that sometimes you'll see this kind of small, can't really describe it, like kind of small bar and like a hollow space. So like if you look into your, alright, never mind, let's move on. Newer versions of USB devices are backwards compatible with older versions, and that can be an advantage, actually. And computers automatically detect USB devices and automatically upload device drivers, as we've discussed. And of course, it's a common transmission method, so many devices support it. Disadvantages include the maximum transmission rate being less than 500 megabits per second, which is around 62.5 megabytes per second. And presently, the maximum cable length is 5 meters. Now note that this video was made around Jan 2016, so if you're watching this, like in the near future, this might have changed, so keep that in mind. So the syllabus may be updated, but the content here should be good until like, I believe 2019. Alright. And of course, older versions, which were described somewhere here. Yeah, here we go. The older versions may not be supported. That basically means that in the future, like, they might be outdated and devices may not support it. That's pretty much it. So integrated circuits, well, they use parallel data transmission. And now this is due to the need for high-speed data transfer, which can't be achieved by serial data transmission, as we've discussed in the earlier video. And of course, an internal clock is used for correct timing of data transfer, which makes it synchronous. So remember, synchronous and asynchronous data transmission. But the short distances make it less risky to do this. Now, this sort of leads on to what we learned about the disadvantages of using parallel and synchronized data transmission. The timing, and like the bits becoming skewed, like unsynchronized. Well, the thing is, with this, since it's such a short distance, this doesn't really pose a problem. Like, if you were to if you were to transmit data using parallel data transmission halfway across the world, then yeah, that might pose a problem. But with such a short distance, it might not, and therefore you can get high speed with less risk. So that's pretty much all there is for this topic, and please stay tuned for well, security, which already has its own topic. I don't know why it's here, but whatever, I'm just going syllabus order, kinda. GCSE Computer Science. And this is topic 1.2.2. Show understanding of the internet risks associated with malware and how to protect yourself from these risks. So this video is basically 3 syllabus statements put together, and this is just because they're quite short and I thought I could fit them all in one video. So we're going to be talking about hacking, viruses, spyware, and war driving in this video. There's also phishing and farming, but we'll get to that in the actual security topic, which is topic 1.4. So let's get started. So the first one we'll look at is hacking. So hacking is, well, we got a table here actually. Description, effects of hacking, and methods to avoid it. So hacking is basically gaining illegal access to a computer system. So I'm pretty sure everyone here has an idea of what hacking is, and the risks to hacking, which we'll see right now. So these include identity theft or personal information gain, or deletion, changing, or corruption of data. Now these are pretty important because like hackers could get your credit card numbers, and with that can like spend your money. So it's pretty serious if you lose your money. And also deletion of files. So like if you're writing an extended essay and a hacker deletes your file, then that's 4,000 words gone. So it's pretty serious stuff. Methods to avoid it include using firewalls, strong passwords and usernames, and anti-hacking software. So a firewall is basically software or hardware which filters information in and out of your computer and an external network. So it basically allows access to certain devices. So, yeah. Also using strong passwords and usernames. So this is quite important as well, because using a strong password can, well, I'll explain it this way. A hacker could use something called a brute force, which is basically a program that will try every password combination in order to access your account. So using strong passwords, not only long ones, but ones with lowercase characters, uppercase characters, numbers, symbols, all of that can really help, because it'll take longer to brute force your password. And also using anti-hacking software can help as well. Just a note, encryption will not help hacking, because all encryption will actually do is prevent the hacker from opening your file, like if you encrypt your extended essay. So the hacker may not be able to open the file, but the hacker can still delete the file. So just a note, encryption doesn't really stop hacking. There's also cracking, where someone edits a program to exploit or change it for a specific purpose, and it's usually done for, obviously, a malicious purpose. So, like changing the source code of a legit software in order for it to do something else. So that's cracking. So it's a bit different from hacking. There are also viruses. Now, viruses, a virus is basically a program which can replicate itself with the intent of deleting or corrupting files or causing the computer to malfunction. And this is equally serious because instead of a hacker doing it, instead of someone sitting on their desk and like looking through your computer, like deleting files or whatever, it's a program that does it. And of course, if it's a program that does it, it's a little bit, well, you can kind of imagine. So the effects of this include causing your computer to crash, malfunction, or become unresponsive. And the viruses can also delete or corrupt data or files. So yeah, it's the same risks as hacking pretty much, but there are methods to avoid it, and they're slightly different than hacking. So using antivirus software, which I'm pretty sure some people have. Don't use software from unknown sources. Again, quite an obvious one, don't torrent. And be cautious when opening emails from unknown senders. Again, pretty sure that, like, people with common sense, like, don't open emails from unknown senders. Also, quick note, backing up files won't help, because what if you back up your files from your computer, but the virus also happens to be backed up as well, so it can still potentially cause damage to your backed up files. So backing up may not help. There's also spyware. So spyware is basically software which gathers key presses on your keyboard, and the key presses are then sent to the originator, i.e. the guy who the guy who made the software and put it on your computer. And the effects of this, the originator has access to everything typed on your keyboard, so like usernames, passwords, and of course the software is able to install other spyware as well as read cookies and change your default web browser, which hopefully the originator doesn't change it to Internet Explorer, because that would be really dangerous. There are, of course, methods to avoid it. So like using anti-spyware software, being alert, looking out for clues that your keyboard is being monitored, or you could also use an on-screen keyboard when typing private information. I should really say when entering private information, because you're not really typing if you're using the on-screen keyboard, but you get the idea. There's also war driving. So war driving is a little bit different from the other three. The risks are a tiny bit, well, not a tiny bit, quite a lot different actually. War driving is the act of locating and using Wi-Fi illegally. So a desktop, laptop, phone, or a device, laptop, phone, or tablet. I just read desk, whatever. So yeah, this is what you need: a wireless card and an antenna. The three of these are used to pick up signals. So basically, person drives around like an office building, tries to get access to their network. And the effects of this, your internet time or allocation is used up if the culprit downloads really large files, such as if they download a 2-hour movie of Star Wars Episode 7, then that could be quite serious and could use up your internet time or allocation. And it's also possible to hack into your Wi-Fi and steal your private information. methods to avoid it. So using WEP encryption can help, and using firewalls to prevent outsiders from getting access. So all of these can, well, both of these can help. And also, if unusual activity is seen, your password should be changed, because that can also help. Regularly changing your password can also help. Like if they use, like if they happen to like try to get access, so change your password regularly. That's about it.